I'm Lisa Gossett. I teach in the Environmental Management program here at UH Clear Lake, and I've been teaching here for about 17 years. Both Dr. Garland, who also teaches in our program, and I have a fair amount of professional experience, not just academic experience, before we came to University of Houston Clear Lake. So we really look at, as an employer, what would I like our students to know? Not just in terms of knowledge, but the skills that would be good for them to have. Certainly writing skills. Being able to communicate verbally and in writing is very important. And some of our students come in with those skills already. Others could use improvement. And in our program in particular, we work very hard with our students to improve those skills. They see a variety of faculty members, but Dr. Garland and I will each see them in at least 2, often 3 classes. And so we can see how they've progressed, what areas they need to improve, and work on developing those skills. I also feel it's very important to know how to find information. Working in the environmental field, the knowledge or information that you need to know includes some basics, but it's also changing. So knowing how to go into the federal regulations, find a federal statute, and just see what it says. As an example, I teach environmental law courses, and I'm not teaching our students to be attorneys, but they should be capable of finding just some very basic information to keep current as things change. How to work with the administrative agencies. Much of environmental law is done with and within administrative agencies. So working with our students, how do you work with these agencies? What powers do they have? What points in the process do you need to get involved? Another skill I work on developing is critical thinking and being able to work in situations where there's some ambiguity or might be multiple answers. I think a lot of students come into an academic situation where they are trying to find the single right answer, and often working through a math or a science problem to end up with that clear-cut result. When you're working and confronted with a situation, often you may have 2 or 3 different alternatives. You might have strengths or weaknesses for a particular argument, and being able to critically recognize those strengths and weaknesses, identify your range of alternatives, and then advocate for an option is certainly a skill I think students need to have. One way I try to develop those critical thinking skills is to give students essay questions that have arguably ambiguous situations, and then give them 10 days to 2 weeks to craft a memo or a paper that analyzes the situation, ideally from a variety of perspectives, and then concluding with a recommendation. Another approach I can use is what I call a role play. Provide an issue or a framework. Assign students a role that might not be what would be the typical viewpoint, and then say, find the information that relates to this particular viewpoint. How would you advocate? What are your strengths and your weaknesses? And then ask them to prepare a memo advocating from that position, and then at the end giving them an opportunity to discuss their personal viewpoints if it differs from what they're being asked to represent. So those are a couple of assignments I use to develop those skills in students. And sometimes they struggle with the idea of doing something other than a set of problems where there are clear-cut multiple choice or yes-no answers. But they learn. Generally, I would say our students come in with a level of maturity. We do have the 20 to 22-year-old students who have pretty much gone straight through from high school without working, just going through school, but I would characterize those as the minority. Most of our students have had some work experience. in a variety of different areas, sometimes positions just to pay the bills, sometimes with some significant professional responsibilities. Some of them are coming back with some tremendous experience, knowing they need to get the qualifications of a university degree if they're going to move on. And some of those students come in, again, with a wealth of skills, maturity. Typically, they are balancing work, family, school responsibilities, and I think with that you get a set of skills that students going straight through a traditional four-year university are not going to be able to give you. With that, just some work experience, I think, comes a level of maturity, an ability to work with people, to work through problems constructively, and I find that to be a real strength in many of our students. Our graduate students come from a broad range of backgrounds, many coming from schools with strong reputations and are wanting an opportunity to continue their education without completely stopping work. So our graduate program really caters to the working professional. We do have some full-time students, we do have some international students, but the full-time professional, I think, feels very much at home in our program. I know in our program, we work very hard with our students individually to develop their skills, to prepare them for the workplace. And in our program in environmental management, the graduate degree plan has a fair amount of electives. So if we're working with a student who wants to enhance their credentials in that field and knows exactly what they're doing, we would have one set of electives or courses that we would recommend for that student. For somebody else coming from a very different background from environmental management, wanting to transition into that field, we might look more at developing some additional science skills. If their concern is more public policy and outreach, we might recommend some electives in the School of Business as contrasted with some other area, depending on where students' backgrounds come from. We get to know our students well. And so I've been able over the years sometimes to work closely with alumni and professionals that I know through professional organizations to identify students that we think would be a good match for their organization's needs.